Stay tuned for the Channel 4 News. Next tonight, Detective Mark Furman shows off some key evidence in this, his second day on the stand. And a talk show leads to a vicious murder. Full details when the news begins 1 minute from now.
You are watching Channel 4 News, coverage you can count on. Now, live in Southern California, this is Channel 4 News at 11.
Torrents of rain hit the Southland tonight. These cars are trying to make their way through the mess and the mud. That is Malibu tonight. And people all across Southern California are bracing for the worst. Good evening, everybody. It's 11 o'clock, and I'm Paul Moyer.
And I'm Kelly Lang.
Top story at 11 o'clock tonight. We've been waiting and waiting for this big winter storm to hit, and tonight it did big time. It already had brought high water that forced thousands of people from their homes in Northern California. Tonight, it looks like it's our turn. In San Bernardino County near Wrightwood, storm-driven winds were clocked at up to 100 miles an hour. Those winds caused some damage to roofs and signs. Meantime, up in Yolo Creek, Yolo County, a small creek overflowed its banks, sending muddy water creeping into the yards of nearby businesses. People there are keeping a very close eye on that situation tonight. And in Northern California, these dramatic scenes, it happened near the town of St. Helena when the spillway at Con Dam just overflowed today. All right, locally, how are we doing? We've got some big problems. Here they are. PCH closed between Topanga and Carbon Canyon tonight due to mud. That's where our Patrick Healy is right now in the elements. Patrick, what's the situation out there?
Well, Paul, it's not just mud. It is huge boulders. It is trees. It is everything coming out of these hillsides behind us down on the Pacific Coast Highway. All this you see behind us, this huge pile of debris that goes back several hundred yards, 8 feet deep in places. This happened just in the past half hour. There had been a minor mudslide in this area a couple of hours ago. Caltrans came out, cleaned it out. The road was completely clear until half an hour ago, and now you can see the Pacific Coast Highway in this stretch, the 19300 block, not far from Moon Shadows. This is between Tuna Canyon and Carbon Canyon farther up, Big Rock farther up. The Coast Highway completely gone, a river now coming across, going down into the ocean. The remarkable thing, actually, the rain has abated a bit just in the last few minutes, but Malibu was doing fairly well earlier in the evening, but until this point, it had not rained this hard. The rain system that took its time getting to Southern California packed a wallop when it finally stormed ashore. In Malibu, it was shortly after 7 p.m., and most people out raced to get home, but not everyone made it before mudslides started coming down onto PCH.
Road closed, huh?
Sheriff's deputies on the CHP shut down the Coast Highway from Topanga Canyon to Carbon Canyon, turning cars around in the middle of the highway. It may not reopen till well past dawn. And inland, the storm was just as powerful. Not only intense rain, but strong winds up to 30 miles an hour. But not every water problem can be blamed on the weather. This is Johnson Road in the southwest corner of the Antelope Valley, awash with drainage from the California Aqueduct, a 5-mile stretch of it deliberately being emptied after a leak was discovered in the earthen levee, a small leak that needs to be fixed before it gets bigger. Back live in Malibu on Pacific Coast Highway. Where we're standing now is the center divider between the two sides of traffic, just to give you some perspective, and the water continuing to come down. Our van was parked right here when the slide came down. We almost did not get the truck out of this mud. It was almost pushed literally into the Pacific Ocean beyond. We would like to show you what is going on in other areas of Malibu, but literally the Sheriff's Department tells us right now we are trapped between this mudslide here, another mudslide on the other side. It is getting that bad out here in Malibu. Reporting live, Patrick Healy, Channel 4 News. Paul and Kelly.
All right, Patrick, thank you for that. Now, flooding from the constant downpour has shut down a long stretch of one of the state's busiest highways tonight. The Highway Patrol closed Interstate 5 for more than 100 miles along the Central Valley from US 99 all the way down to Interstate 205. You're looking at it. That's a live picture now. I-5 moving in the areas where it's open, but as we said, it's shut down for 100 miles. Another major trouble spot is the waterlogged community of La Conchita up in Ventura County. Heavy rain still pounding that beach town tonight, and they are in trouble. Beverly White has an update.
Ever since Saturday's original mudslide, La Conchita residents, Kelly, have relied on town meetings in a tent for updates about their endangered community. But tonight, the town meeting was canceled because the tent blew away, and we're told most of the residents have relocated. The homeowners who chose to stay are closely monitoring emergency personnel as they struggle to clear the roadways of mud and debris. All this from the oversaturated hillside just up the block, the same hillside that threatens to wipe out the community, one household at a time.
We're looking at the possibility of tomorrow the entire community being in the hazard zone.
Strategy sessions have become a round-the-clock affair for the experts who do believe that La Conchita is doomed.
We are experiencing the worst-case scenario that was predicted 2 days ago. We have torrential rains.
But no matter the weather, plenty of homeowners still aren't convinced.
They've had to come down in the past and grade all of these straits, just clean the rock and the mud out of them after almost every big storm. So, I mean, we're getting a lot more mud now, and we're real concerned because of the hillside and the amount of mud we're going to continue getting. But I think as long as the rain doesn't do much more than it's doing right now, we're probably in pretty decent shape with them up here working with their equipment.
So many homes are in imminent danger that the rescue workers outnumber the remaining residents. There's been no property damage during the downpour thus far that we can tell, but experts still expect the mud and the rain to come tumbling down. In Ventura County, I'm Beverly White, Channel 4 News. Back to you, Paul and Kelly.
Okay, Beverly, the story doesn't end there, that's for sure. Conan Nolan in Santa Barbara tonight, which was really battered earlier today. Some reports of an inch an hour in some places out near the Santa Ynez Valley. We've got Conan on the phone now. Conan, what are the conditions right now, and where are you?
Well, I'm in Santa Barbara, Paul, and right now it continues to rain here. Had all sorts of problems at the harbor. They've shut down a number of the piers. 101, I should say, Highway 101, shut down north of Gaviota Pass, which is just south of Lompoc. There was a mudslide there. 101 is shut down in San Luis Obispo near Avila Beach as a result of floodwaters. That's the northbound lanes. Once again, you just can't get through north of the Gaviota Pass. There have been evacuations in Morro Bay and in the community of Los Osos. This is in San Luis Obispo County. You can see that some of the cars have been floating down some of the creeks that have overflowed their banks. Boats were a common sight in Cambria, where they had 10-foot floodwaters. 200 people have been cut off, we understand, in the community of Cambria, a neighborhood where the bridge connecting it to town has been closed because they fear the bridge will collapse. It is a mess here. It continues to rain. This is eclipsing the storm of '69 that everybody talked about up here, and it has not let up. In fact, they're still predicting more rain tomorrow. Paul, back to you.
Well, Conan, I would imagine if you're in Santa Barbara right now, you're not going anywhere, north, east, south, or west.
You can't. In fact, normally, of course, when they close down one of the freeways, they try to route you around the roadblock. In this case, at Gaviota, they just turn people around. You're headed back to Santa Barbara. There's just no way to get out of here. You can go south, we understand, for the time being. But if you want to go north, you better stay put. Find a hotel or a motel and just stay there for the day.
All right, Conan, thank you. Hang in there, stay dry. We'll talk to you later on tomorrow. We are on storm watch tonight in the Southland, obviously. The rains have finally arrived with a vengeance. Fritz Coleman is here tonight to tell us where the storm already has hit and what more we can expect right here. Fritz?
Well, that's right, Paul. This is the storm we've watched all week. It's eluded us as to its arrival time, as to its strength, and we're proving it tonight. Who would think that we'd ever see anything this strong, the strongest rains any of us have seen in California? And here is a look at the latest Doppler. And we have watched this line of moisture start in the Bay Area 2 days ago and slide due southward at about 20 miles an hour, finally hitting our area. Within the last hour, very strong thunderstorms detected from Long Beach to Santa Ana and Ventura to about 15 miles south of Oxnard tonight. Moderate to heavy rain happening just about every place else, and gusty winds. 40-mile-an-hour winds at Van Nuys Airport, 26-mile-an-hour winds at both Burbank Airport and LAX. How long will it last? What can we expect beyond this? What's the rest of the weekend look like? We'll have all that in our regular AccuWeather forecast, including watches and warnings when we come back. Please stay tuned.
All right, Fritz, we'll see you in a little bit. And, of course, as you can see, the storm wreaking havoc with some of our equipment out there with the reporters calling in. Up in the High Sierra, a snowstorm blanketed the mountains, while at lower elevations, a heavy rain and strong winds have made for very, very dangerous road conditions. Caltrans crews have been working round the clock to keep the roads clear, but dangerous conditions, including blinding snow, have backed up traffic for miles. And heavy storms once again pounding the Sacramento area. Greg Larson is live up there in Sacramento County, where they've really been hit. He's got the very latest up there for us. What's the situation, Greg?
Well, right now we've gotten a respite from the rain here in Sacramento. It has been dry here for a little while, but more, of course, is expected. And behind me is Dry Creek. Now, right now it is running high and fast and furious, and it's getting higher minute by minute as water from upstream moves downward. And that's what a lot of people in the Sacramento area and here around Dry Creek are worried about. It's waters like that that can cause floods and bring back a January nightmare. For Rio Linda residents Mike and Julie Newell, it's another night of watching and waiting on the waters of Dry Creek all over again.
If it's coming up any.
Yeah, the creek's still too high to suit us. It's too high.
And it may yet get higher. They're still renovating their house after being flooded out in January.
We lost everything.
Yeah, in January we lost everything.
We didn't.
$41,000 later in renovations, out of money, they came back 2 weeks ago.
Anyway, because it was kind of nice to be back home, and then
Coco said.
This morning we thought, oh boy, here we go again.
But this morning when we got up and the street was flooded, we called everybody we knew with pickups. We got everything out.
Tonight, they're not alone in the Sacramento area. Others in Valley High are picking up sandbags, getting ready for more water. This afternoon, those flooded out in the January flood in that area awaited the worst.
I guess you were flooded out once before. What are you doing to get ready for this one?
I am past the nervous stage. I am, last time I was denial, and it was like, oh, it'll go away. This time it's not going away, and I've got everything, we're pulling everything up.
Annette Arrington and her family have lived in a trailer home since January, while renovations on her home were done. It's almost complete.
I'm scared, and it's really not really exciting.
Tonight, the Arringtons and the Newells wait, hoping they don't have to leave their nearly renovated homes again. Now, the people that live here around Dry Creek say it takes between 12 and 24 hours for the water to get downstream and then perhaps to swell the creek over its banks. With all the rain that's come and all it's expected, that's exactly what they're worried about, more flooding. Back to you, Kelly and Paul.
Okay, Greg, with a vengeance, that's for sure. Lots more news coming up tonight, including the Simpson trial. Detective Mark Furman engaging in some show and tell as the prosecution continues to build its case.
And the defense continuing to play the mystery witness card.
And a surprise staged on the Jenny Jones show apparently leads to murder. Now, some critics are saying we are being talked to death.
And Michael Jordan apparently wants to prove that you can go home again.
Folks, lots more weather information you need to know for this weekend. Please stay tuned. See you in a couple of minutes.
O.J. Simpson's murder trial ended the week with Detective Mark Furman still on the stand, and today he showed the jury 4 items that he found inside and near O.J. Simpson's Bronco. Furman first unwrapped a big shovel, and he placed it up on the witness stand for the jury to see. Then Furman held up a white towel found right next to the shovel. Next, Detective Furman showed a large plastic bag, and finally a piece of wood that Mark Furman says he found near the Bronco. Jim Avila has more on today's testimony.
It's the weekly Friday surprise. Sinister-looking evidence left in the laps of the jurors without explanation. A shovel, a dirty towel, a huge plastic bag, and a stick covered with fingerprint dust, but no clues.
Can you tell us, sir, if you recognize what I'm showing you here?
Yes.
And what is it?
That looks like the shovel that I saw in the rear cargo area of the Bronco.
Mark Furman is in court because the prosecution needs him. He discovered or helped photograph several key pieces of evidence. He was shown the glove and knit hat at the Bundy crime scene. Furman was the first to discover blood spots in the Ford Bronco parked in front of Simpson's Brentwood mansion. He saw the shovel and the white towel in the cargo area of the Bronco. Furman conducted the first interview with Cato Kalin at the Simpson mansion and discovered the Rockingham bloody glove in the leaves behind Cato's guest house. But the prosecution wants to make it clear he did none of that alone, or while close enough to move or alter the evidence as the defense team is charged.
At the point that you wrote that note, you had not walked up into the crime scene and stepped up to the bush to look at it?
No, I hadn't.
If the defense succeeds in proving Mark Furman a racist, the prosecution wants the jury to think that his racial bias is irrelevant, because Furman was never in a position to frame O.J. Simpson.
There was a question how we're going to do this, and I suggested, do you want me to go over the wall?
You were the most junior detective, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you in the best physical shape of the 4 detectives there?
Well, I don't... kind of put me on the spot, but I think I was the tallest detective.
Okay.
So far, Mark Furman has told only about half of his story. The jury has yet to see the bloody glove from Rockingham. That should happen early next week. Paul and Kelly?
All right, Jim, thank you. O.J. Simpson's attorney, F. Lee Bailey, will not say who the defense surprise witness really is. The witness, they say, can refute Furman's earlier testimony about Kathleen Bell. Furman said under oath that he's never met Kathleen Bell, the woman accusing him of racism. Bailey says his witness can prove otherwise. Prosecutors demanded the name, but even after a meeting in the judge's chambers, Bailey's not talking.
The judge didn't require you to disclose the name to the prosecution?
No. But apparently he did give the name to Judge Ito, who will decide what happens next. Kelly?
All right, coming up, our weather right now. We're going to give you a live look from our camera in downtown Los Angeles. There it is, pretty wet. Fritz has the latest on the storm coming up.
And the shocking story of a talk show guest now accused of murder because of a surprise.
Chicago is getting the kind of surprise it really likes. Michael Jordan. Rumor has it he will soon be back in uniform.
And you will meet the goose who kept the thieves away, far away. One of the areas you always think about when we have rains like this is Malibu. Last time we checked with Patrick Healy, the rains had abated a little bit out there. Patrick, back to you. What's it like now?
Well, Paul, fortunately, the rain abatement, it has continued. It's not coming down nearly as hard as it was earlier this evening, not nearly as hard as just 20 minutes ago. There's still water pouring down out onto the Coast Highway here, but no more mud. We want to emphasize one point. This is coming down at a point where there are no houses along Pacific Coast Highway. There was one at the edge of the slide, but that is the only house that is close to this slide. No one imperiled at this point. Paul, back to you.
All right, Patrick, thank you. We take a look at that shot. Boy, a lot of people waiting to see how much rain they get out of there. Well, I guess if you wait, it will come, and it did.
Well, that was the problem. It combined, and it got big, and it slowed down, and it crept down here at 20 miles an hour, and that's why we reminded people just not to let their guard down. It always beats us on timing, these El Nino storms, but get here, wow, this is unbelievable. Let's go outside and take a look at that Malibu shot. Here's a guy, Patrick Healy, out here tonight who could probably barely run to get out of the way because he ran the LA Marathon Sunday.
Really?
And he's really stiff, I'm telling you. Really nasty, nasty stuff. And it may not be the last time we see a story like this over the weekend, folks. We have a few hours to get through here at sometimes an inch per hour. Here are the numbers to show you today. We had a high today of 65 and a low 58. Right now, we're 55, relative humidity 80%, falling barometric pressure at 29.68 inches. Burbank Airport, east winds at 26 miles an hour. Normal high would be 69, low 51. Sun up tomorrow morning at 6:09 and setting again at 5:57. Let's go through the all-important watches and warnings for you tonight. We have flash flood warnings, meaning flooding conditions are happening at the moment in these areas. Malibu, Old Topanga, Altadena burn areas, and that warning will continue in effect until 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Also in southern Santa Barbara County and Ventura counties until 3 a.m. And we have several other things to show you here. Let's get a look at the next one. I guess that's it. Take a look at the timeline now. And here's what we're expecting over the next 24 to 36 hours. Continuing what we have now, rain, gusty winds at times, and the possibility of thunderstorms. Tomorrow, rain and thunderstorms could happen during the day but taper off. And then tomorrow night, we're going to see more rain likely, but most of the unstable activity like the thunderstorms and the gusty winds to settle down. And because this thing's clipping through with an 8 to 10 hour rainy period, possibly by Sunday morning we'll taper to clouds with just a chance of a shower and maybe partly sunny skies in the afternoon. Let's hope so. Daytime highs we expect tomorrow will be in the mid and upper 60s just about everywhere. 68 degrees in Riverside, 65 in Hawthorne and the city of Orange, elsewhere in inland Orange County, 66 on LA beach sites. Here is your 5-day forecast. I will tell you that these are tropically fed warm storms, so most of any snow you see will be above 7,500 feet. But we did have a phone call that somebody was spotting snow at Fraser Park. But the wind is blowing. It's so unstable out there, it's not surprising that wind's blowing down from the upper atmosphere. But I think most of the snow you'll see will be at the top of the mountains. Have a safe weekend. AccuWeather is on the case. We're going to be here all day tomorrow, and when you need us, we'll be here. So
feel better already.
Great.
Okay, good.
Thanks a lot, Fritz, for that. Now, a television talk show is under fire tonight. A guest on the Jenny Jones show is accused of murdering another guest. And prosecutors say Jenny Jones' producers are partly to blame. Here's the suspect, Jonathan Schmitz, arraigned today in Michigan, charged with killing a man who was his secret admirer and who made that crush public on national television. Apparently, the man was shocked and angry, he said, to find out that the person who had a crush on him was not a woman, but it was a man.
All right, as we shift the gears a little bit, Kelly, coming up, a home security system that is really something to honk about.
And coming up in sports, March Madness is here, and even the fans are finding nothing but net.
Well, it's not OJ, the big news in Chicago. It is MJ, Michael Jordan. Hi, Brett.
Indeed. Hello, Kelly. NBC News says Michael Jordan will announce on Monday he's returning to basketball. The only official move today, he ended his baseball career, saying he just couldn't make the progress he wanted with the strike. Tonight in Chicago, Michael dared to go out in public, tried to walk from his office to his car, engulfed in a sea of reporters and fans. Jordan escaped unarmed and drove off. At the Bulls game, fans of all ages in a Michael state of mind. One little guy doesn't quite have Jordan's moves yet. Scottie Pippen says, no, we do want him back. We do want him back. Chicago beat Cleveland 99-76. In Minnesota, the Lakers were hungry. Somebody brought dinner for Eddie Jones, Eldon Campbell, and George Lynch, all out with injuries. So who was so nice to the visitors? Crunch, the Timberwolves mascot, acting as a waiter. Tough night for the Lakers and Vlade Divac in particular. The bump fake gets two Timberwolves off their feet, but what goes up must come down, right on Vlade's head. Of course, Vlade doesn't overact when these things happen. No. Seemingly without half their team, the Lakers turn to Sedale 3 to Team I-26. The Lakers by 2 in the fourth, but the Timberwolves have just enough. 33 for Isaiah Ryder, including the game winner. Minnesota surprises the Lakers 109-103. At the Sports Arena, this guy must have known something, because Pooh Richardson did a Michael Jordan imitation. He had quite a game, 19 points, 11 assists, including the dish to Loy Vaught, who hits for 2 of his 20 against Golden State, flips by a deuce at the break. A couple of Bruins, Charles O'Bannon on the right and Cameron Dollar taking it in. Clips pull away in the fourth. He's not Michael, but he's pretty good. That's Pooh again. Clippers roll 121-102. In Detroit, the Chicken with a ruthless sneak attack on an unsuspecting Barney. A flying tackle, then the dinosaur is pinned. I think it's those PBS budget cuts. Oh, Pistons and Nuggets into the first half. Denver's Rodney Rogers, a 50-footer, a perfect swish. Denver downs Detroit 99-88. Meanwhile, if a chicken and a dinosaur can get together, can't we all? A few weeks ago at a Bullets game, a fan hit a half-court shot and won a cruise, so they made it more difficult. Colin Formulac hits this shot, but he's got to hit 2 of 3 to win a truck. Is there a formula for Formulac? Apparently, calmly steps up, launches. This is the second one. Nothing but net. Hug from the Bullets cheerleader. A new truck. Wonder which he enjoyed more. Bullets lost to the Bucks 114-111. Utah and Indiana won. New Jersey over Boston. Atlanta over New York. Wins for Orlando and San Antonio in college basketball. Long Beach State, Cal State Northridge, and UC Irvine all won. And that's an abbreviated sports.
Great.
The guy hitting 2 couldn't believe it. All right, thanks, Brett.
No, neither could we.
Patrick Healy, back to you in Malibu. The mud situation out there getting kind of thick. How are you going to get home, Patrick?
Interesting question, Paul, but there are a number of people in that boat tonight, a number of people we've seen walking across this mud and boulder slide here, trying to get to their homes in Big Rock, which is just the other side of the slide. You may be able to see the cluster of people over there. There are houses on the ocean side, and if you look carefully, you can also see the big retaining wall that has been built for prior mudslides. That is below Big Rock. So several people now hiking from as far away as Tuna Canyon, which is about 2 miles, to get home tonight. That's the situation, Paul. Let's go back to you.
The price you pay for living in Malibu. Okay, still to come here. Many people invest in home security.
But do they get goosed?
Huh?
Excuse me, goosed by the security system? You'll find out. Well, before we go tonight, take a look at one of the best security systems a property owner can have anywhere. You have to feed it, but boy, it goes after the crooks.
And so like a mom?
In fact, it goes after everybody, except homeowner Annette Peck. No, we're not kidding. Her name is Annette Peck. She says the goose just showed up one day, ate all the flower bulbs, and took up guard duty, and the rest, as they say, is goose history.
Boy, I tell you, we could use a laugh. The storm is upon us with a vengeance, and Fritz has a gift for you.
Well, I don't know if it's a gift, but we're going to hang around in the weather department for a couple hours. We're in a serious part of the storm now with gusty winds and lots of rain, and maybe you were worried about people out being in the rain and wonder how things are doing. So we'll hang on and do periodic updates throughout the night tonight.
That's nice. You'll be here for a while.
Yeah, we'll be here.
Okay, terrific. Thanks,
Fritz.
Fritz. And just a reminder on the days when the Simpson trial is in session. O.J. Simpson, the trial is on at 7:30 every night. And that's it for us tonight. Don't forget, today in L.A., that's at 7 in the morning.
Now stay tuned for the #1 late-night talk show in Southern California, Tonight Show starring Jay Leno, with Jeff Goldblum and Lauren Hutton.
Yes, indeed. Have a great weekend. Stay dry. Bye-bye.